Yep, we're back at it again. 3 videos into the year so far, and we are flying, baby. Totally off topic. Christy and I went to our first spa experience yesterday, thanks to our friend Anna, and I'm pretty sure I haven't felt this young in years. I mean, I got a facial, y'all. What do we think? Am I the moment? Absolutely not. You clicked on this video because you wanted to see what old William Turner's been cooking up this week, and I have to admit, this one's pretty good. So together, let's shoot some rolls, get an email full of scans, just a couple of these. It's really all that makes me happy these days. Several months ago, I had the privilege of participating in what only a few other lucky photographers in the States got to try out.
It's going to be interesting.
Candido from the UK. We found out pretty early on that this product is re-spooled Kodak motion picture film with the removal of the remjet layer, but unlike other similar brands, they pride themselves on a very transparent dialogue with their customers, with a focus in keeping costs down as much as possible, and thankfully didn't find themselves in any controversies. Between Lomography, Harman, and a bunch of other brands, 2023 was definitely the year of firsts for the film photography community. And to have made one of my earliest videos covering this awesome brand was kind of lightning in a bottle for me, and how my interest continued to grow in the hobby. That video was received amazingly well, but the discourse between the brand's original rollout and the results were a bit mixed. The rolls were only 24 exposures, the canisters were plastic, no DX coating, light leaks, and in a few other instances with me and a couple other film friends, entirely blank rolls. That's not good. But Candido was fast with their responses and overwhelming transparency to their intended goals and vision. Everyone I know that had any issues were always provided a free roll from the company and really encouraged to not give up on them. They listened, so much so that they changed their entire line and improved it beyond what I thought was possible in under 6 months. Now 36 exposures, metal canisters, DX coating, and higher quality product control. Are you kidding me? This is a dream. Knowing that they took the time and care to pull this off, and believing in their passion, I knew I had to check out this new era of Candido immediately. So we shot one of each. Candido is available in 800, 400, and 200 speed ISO. The 200 and 400 are daylight balanced, while the 800 is a tungsten-based film that'll get you all the minty greens you want. And the film carry bag these arrived in was a sleek and very welcome goodie to receive along with everything else. I urgently loaded up my Nikon F2 with the 800 and headed out to Pasadena for a little night shoot and long exposures. Unlike my first video where Alex and I were able to test each speed in under a 24-hour period, I wanted to take my time, only shoot one roll for each location, and do my best to showcase what makes each speed special and possibly worthy of your next photo outing. Not to mention I'm using a different kind of camera for each roll. That way I can cover each entry of interest for this budget-friendly stock. It's always exciting to cover a topic we all love, and see what avenues we can take in pursuit of saving money anywhere that we can. Because we all know this is not a cheap hobby. So let's dive in and discuss what makes this brand special and unique from an actual user perspective. I think I did a pretty decent job picking subjects and themes that capture this idea, but you'll have to be the real judge of that. Out on a cold night in Pasadena, I met up with my buddy Jeremy from Pine Brook Pictures, or maybe a few other secret projects you might have also heard about, but we'll get into that in a few weeks. We both scarfed down a pizza off camera that was pretty incredible, but if I always recorded everything I eat, then this episode would be like 2 hours long. He showed me around the downtown area, and we did our best to capture it on this busy winter night in the middle of the holiday season. Did you get it?
It's still going. The back part of the lens is just exposed right now.
I like this first image a lot. The subject is a bit jarring, but I also love the texture it creates between the endless forest of metal and streaks of light breaking them apart. It's not a typical kind of shot for me, but in the moment it felt right, or at least fun. We ended up at Pasadena City College, which was pretty interesting and actually felt somewhat dystopian captured on Candido. And I really liked the vibe. In all honesty, we didn't end up taking that many photos this night because we were laughing our asses off and geeking over our favorite films. Plus it was cold as hell. So a few nights later, in the middle of a rainstorm, I decided let's finish this roll.
Okay, so the game plan is it just stopped raining heavily. It's sprinkling a tiny bit, but now that it's not like terrible, I figured we'd take some pictures while the ground's still reflective. Maybe we can get some cool stuff with all the lights. I don't know. I hope I don't break my camera. Well, it's raining again. This is stupid.
The halation is definitely out and ready to play. Some people like it and some people really don't care for it at all. But I think it fits the tone of these images very well. And I can't seem to see nearly as much grain as I was expecting.
I have never been talked to so much while shooting in my entire life. I'm pretty sure I just got interviewed for one of those stupid TikTok, "What are you listening to?" And I don't even have headphones in, so it's like, why are you talking to me? Which sucks a little bit. I don't really talk about it here on the channel very much, but I do spend like a few days a week not talking just because of my vocal issues. But it is what it is. I think I got some great shots. And if you bring a Nikon F2 with you, I guess everyone's gonna want to talk to you. I mean, it's so sexy.
So when it rains too hard, that just means the tripod has to get set up in the car. But this made it pretty hard to actually find subjects worth shooting. For obvious reasons, I'm pretty sure this is my favorite shot on the whole roll.
I guess we'll find out if this was worth it, or if I just got wet for no reason.
I loved this night. The rain and reflective water coating the streets was an absolute cheat code when it came to capturing this moody look I was going for. I would have finished the entire roll that night if it hadn't been for the rain coming back in full force. I just didn't really feel like breaking my F2 for a YouTube video. So strangely, the last 2 frames of the 800 was shot on a more recent trip to Vegas. One along the 15 at the brink of dawn, peeking over the mountaintops, and another at my favorite little desert madhouse, Barstow del Taco. Don't worry, I'm not eating again. Yet. The 400 got loaded into my Canon Rebel 2000, which traveled down south for a quick outing in Julian, California. Whenever I shoot with this camera, I always default to using my 16 to 35mm, but I also ended up bringing an 80mm cinema lens just in case I wanted to capture something a bit more compressed. Christy and I had been wanting to take a day trip here for a while now, and don't worry, we read the comments. There is some Chloe content in this episode. Of course, the real reason anyone comes here normally is for the apple trees. But it was a bit late in the season for apple picking, but thank God this place has at least 17 different pie companies. See, I warned you. This day was just very relaxing and beautiful and full of really fun pictures. The 400's tendency to punch up its highlights because of the halation can be a hurdle at times, but for the most part I really enjoy the warm tones this film is giving. Near the end of the day, we ate the saltiest pizza I've ever had, and you know we had to get some hard apple cider. Every inch of this small town was a blast to explore. And oh, look, cows. The lighting was really nice here as the sun started to dip, and I'm honored to say that I think Candido agrees. These last shots were actually captured on the 80mm as a way to compress and see how different the stock would look as the sun began to disappear on our drive home. The focus on this shot of Christy is a little soft, but it might be my favorite shot of the roll. Obviously this is my girlfriend, so I'm biased, but there's something about it that feels purposeful and dreamy. Or I just don't want to admit that I suck. But it was pretty cool taking a cinema stock and pointing it through a cinema style lens to interpret the 400 a little differently that day. And that just leaves us one more roll to shoot. Now, I have to admit, one of the best features that Candido did with their most recent changes doesn't really have anything so much to do with the film as it does its canisters. Like I said before, their casings are now metal and rocking a DX coating for pretty much any beginner-friendly camera to easily read. That means you can take almost any point and shoot, drop in the film, and you're good to go. Your camera's going to expose it correctly. So that's exactly what I wanted to do. I've been known with my friends and family for my vastly indulgent point and shoot collection, and I was tempted to default and use my Yashica T2 for this experiment. But I felt it better suited the video to pick something reliable, but above all else, accessible, and somewhat ordinary to prove you don't need an expensive camera to take great photos, you just need an idea. I'd gotten up before dawn one morning to explore a new hike out in Laguna, but due to so much recent rain, the trails were closed and flooded. So what do? Improvise. The 200 speed is bright, but not as punchy as you might expect. If you're not a fan of halation, then these images might feel as ridiculous as Ryan Gosling being the only one nominated for the Barbie movie, but I actually really like this look. This might be my favorite image I took in all the rolls. And I think, funny enough, creates this theme that I actually captured one of each in every roll. I'm not exactly reinventing the wheel here to take a picture of someone walking off into the distance, but I love that I was able to capture these intimate, smaller moments on each roll of film and have them frame up in a way that almost feels complementary to each one. Guess we can't go that way. It is so muddy everywhere I step. I'm just trying not to fall on my ass. I find it hilarious that there will always be at least a handful of shots per roll with this Minolta that I'll find an excuse to switch over to the pano crop. With such a long background in video and TV, sometimes this aspect ratio is just very soothing and satisfying to capture images in. Because X-Pans are for rich people. Plus the pano crop seems to add this little extra punch of contrast around the camera's exposure, and I really enjoy it. If there was gonna be a rattlesnake, probably be right here. Ooh, girl. This branch just scared the shit out of me. I thought I was a goner. Yeah, so I guess we're taking a lot of pictures of people on bikes. These images might have turned out exactly how you might have expected them to, but I was honestly really impressed with how they ended up looking. The colors do feel a little more muted than the 800, but that's probably the halation in broad daylight more than anything. And how could I finish this roll without getting one last little snack? If you haven't been to Porto's lately, this is your sign to go get that potato ball. You know you miss it. So what do we think? Has Candido reset the bar and taken a massive step forward in being a go-to film stock for some users? Surprisingly, I think so. They clearly are listening to consumers and want nothing more than to help build and support a community that is excited about film. It is grainy, but not as much as I remember. It's more muted than other films on the market, but so are a lot of other popular looks that are way more expensive than Candido. I think I still prefer the 200 and 800 speed over the 400 look. The 800 has a pretty decent latitude, and the 200 for the most part is pretty punchy. 400 does look great in the right lighting, but I'm not sure that I can justify it for me when I have the other two speeds available. All of these rolls came out, not a single blank roll, and I haven't really heard that being an issue for them in quite some time. Are there still light leaks? I did get a couple, usually at the beginning of a roll, and I'd like to just chalk it up to user error, but it is a little telling that each roll got some. I did see yesterday on their Instagram that they did announce an upcoming price hike that I think in all honesty we all saw coming after that official Kodak Doom decision that they made back in early January, but I am hoping it's not too far from their current listings. And again, to be transparent, this is no way a sponsored video, but they did say that their prices will be honored until February 1st, which means you can go to their website right now, order as much film as you want, and the price won't have gone up yet. I know that's only a few days away, but I mean, at least I'm telling you, right? So if this video made you at all interested in trying them out, maybe it's worth ordering a roll or two before that price hike, and tell them Captain Will Turner sent you. But if you're not interested, how did you watch this entire video?
What's your inflammatory thing you want to say?
Oh. Cinestill did nothing wrong.